Joining us now is Government Accountability Institute President Peter Schweizer. How are you, sir? Welcome. So as you think about everything that's happening, what are you sensing that Cash is ultimately trying to solve here with China?
Well, look, I think the Trump administration deserves a lot of credit for raising this issue and making it a central concern. But I think it rests on the assumption that China wants to fix this problem, and they don't. China's involvement with fentanyl is not just the precursor chemicals which come from China. That's sort of a central part of what Kash Patel is talking to the Chinese about. But it involves the production of fentanyl in Mexico. Our DEA says 2,000 Chinese nationals are in Mexico making this stuff. The pill presses that the cartel uses to make these pills come from China, and they're sold at cost. The money laundering of the drug cartels goes through Chinese state-owned banks. So it's a major problem, and I don't think China is serious about solving it.
Peter, we've followed this story for a long time, and, you know, the president has exclaimed frustration because basically with fentanyl coming up through the southern border, a lot of Americans are dying. Everybody knows somebody that has been touched by tragedy in some way, even if tangentially. You can talk about the trade war with China and say fentanyl was really at the core of this. I mean, the president was aggravated with the country over many issues, but fentanyl to me is what pushed him over the edge. It seems like we've made some progress, but not necessarily stop the flow completely. What can we do in this administration to block China's efforts here? I mean, our trade measures, our tariffs, is that enough to do it?
Yeah, I mean, look, China has to pay a price for what they're doing. And again, I give the Trump administration a lot of credit. They recognize what's going on with fentanyl for what it is, which is a Chinese attack on the United States. Some people think that this is a drug overdose problem. It's not. Over 90% of the people that are dying of fentanyl overdoses don't even know they're taking fentanyl. They think they're taking a Vicodin or an Adderall. So this is very intentional by China. Trump has recognized that. I think putting trade is at front and center because unless China pays a price for what they are doing, they are going to continue to do it because it's a way of waging war on the United States by avoiding responsibility. And it's also profitable because a lot of the drug networks in Mexico are involved, but so are Chinese criminal networks. And we know that some of these networks of the Chinese organized crime are tied to the CCP. So it's a tangled web, and we need to make sure that they pay a price until they change their behavior.
But here's the problem. You sit down and you look Xi Jinping in the eye, and he will look you back in the eye, and he will lie to you. And we have seen him do this over and over and over again. Obviously, President Trump is a different leader than we have seen in the past, and I think that he will take every measure he has in his toolbox to be able to enforce some of these aspects against China, punitive damages, if you will. But it's no guarantee that they'll stop.
100% agree. And that's why I think all of this reducing of the fentanyl specific tariffs should only happen once China has demonstrated that they're actually doing something about this. So number one, let's actually arrest some people for producing these precursor chemicals. Number two, the Mexican drug cartels use a Chinese app called WeChat to communicate. Everybody knows that WeChat is monitored by the Chinese government. It's part of the surveillance state. Why do the Mexican cartels use WeChat to communicate? Because they know that the Chinese will not share those communications with U.S. federal law enforcement. So let them start showing they're actually doing some things first before we reduce the trade barriers. Otherwise, you're exactly right. They're going to do the same thing they did back in 2017, say they're going to do something about it and not do anything.
Accountability. We have to hold them accountable.
Absolutely. Peter, the only thing I would say is I appreciate the desire and the necessity to eliminate the issue. But when we play with the trade policy, we're also playing with the general economy. And so when we look at all the things that have happened to small businesses, medium businesses, and large businesses that rely on products from China, the tariffs are having an impact here, probably more than anybody calculated. How do we combat that or rationalize it?
Yeah, no, you raise an important point. I mean, look, if there's another way that we can make China pay literally in money, something tangible besides tariffs, I'm all for it, because I agree with you. Tariffs are not a great choice, but I think it's the only option. And I think what Xi Jinping will understand is the cost of what he's doing. And until he understands the cost and that it's real, it's not going to change. So I share your concern, but there needs to be something, and I don't know what else it is.
Really give a lot of credit, though, to the president for taking this on. Nobody else had the courage to do it. Peter Schweizer, thank you so much for being here.